Hello, this is Joel Hathaway, and I'm continuing my exploration of best practices when it comes to looking for ministry positions. One of the questions I often get is, when is the best time to look for a ministry position? Well, behind that question, we're really asking, what does the ministry hiring table or timetable look like? I'm going to describe it from the senior solo position, and then we will build that out into other areas, say support roles, children's ministry, youth ministry, women's ministry, etc. Most senior solo positions are vacated at the beginning of the summer, with the goal then, churches often have the goal of filling it by the end of the next summer. And so it looks like this. A senior pastor is in an area, he takes another call, he leaves, say, midsummer, has a fond farewell. A committee gets formed sometime in the fall. Pulpit supply is arranged, and then the committee maybe begins to do some work. They might even post the job in the fall. But notice what happens around November. I lumped it under Advent, but really what I mean is just the holidays. Committees are a volunteer group of people who are not paid for what they're doing. And on top of that, they're often not trained. And in addition to that, they don't have a lot of institutional knowledge. It's unlikely that they have served on a committee before. When you put all this together, what it means is there's just a lot of waiting as they try to figure out what it is they're doing. And so when they get to the holidays, they tend to do what I call go to sleep. And then nothing tends to happen until after the new year. Then sometime in January, I began receiving phone calls from committees who are now really ready to do the heavy lifting of interviewing candidates, going through the applicants that they've already received applications from, and hopefully identifying somebody by the beginning of the summer who can move before the beginning of the new school year or the new ministry cycle, if you will. So that's a typical senior solo position. What that means is, even though a senior solo position, if that's what you're looking for, may open up technically in one summer, say this summer, but they're not actually doing a lot of work to try to fill that position until you get closer to next winter, spring, leading into next summer. 12 to 18 months is the average time range it takes to fill a senior solo position. Now, what if you're looking for a support role, say an assistant or associate position? Well, there's actually two kinds of positions there. One is what I would call the newly budgeted position, which opens up at the end of the year. October is typically budgeted in October or November. Most churches function on a calendar fiscal year. So the new budget goes into effect in January. They'll begin looking for a candidate. They'll have in mind having somebody by the summer to begin by August, unless it's a youth-focused assistant position, in which case they will hopefully have somebody by May who can experience the summer cycle of youth ministry. And then what they do is they've also got a little bit of cushion built into their budget to offset any unforeseen or additional expenses in securing a new pastor. What that means, though, also is your engagement is going to mostly take place between January and May, your engagement with a committee. Well, what about vacated positions? So a fellow is serving as an assistant pastor in a church. One of these churches that has a solo position available begins courting him, asking him to come be their next senior pastor. He accepts. He announces his intention to depart. So that's sometime in the spring. And so that church is likely to want to refill that position by August. Again, it means that you as a candidate are going to do most of your engaging with committees between January and May, maybe bleeding over into a long tail of January to August. So what do you do in the interim? Well, you work on your resume packet is the best thing you can do in the fall. Develop an effective networking strategy and also begin identifying the ideal job. And we'll talk about those two skills in future episodes. So that when you get to January, February, you're really ready to dive into the job board. You're ready to engage with committees and talk with them with the goal of securing a position by the summer following your senior year. Also keep in mind, only about 60, maybe 65% of jobs ever make it onto a job board. That number actually was a lot lower leading into the Great Recession of 2008, but we've seen it turn around and begin rising again. But that still leaves between 35 and 40% of jobs never appearing on a job board. So how do you find those? Well, intentional networking is the main way. And again, we'll cover that in a future episode. Very briefly, what about women's ministry, children ministry, and youth ministry? These are a little different in that they may be vacated at any given time throughout the year. Any number of reasons why somebody may vacate those positions. If it's a young man or woman may decide to go to seminary to pursue a degree, or having tested out their ministry skills and capacities, have decided not to pursue vocational ministry. And so those are the jobs that we see open up somewhat throughout the year. But again, the best time and way to identify those particular jobs is by utilizing an effective network. And so if you want to talk about what that means for you practically, set up a time to meet with me. You can email me. My address will be at the end of this presentation. But check out the other videos on ways to develop an effective search process for identifying ministry positions. And thank you.